Press enter. You'll see that we've sent 5 gigabytes of data and received 5 gigabytes of data, and we've printed it out. Of course, there is a maximum of characters that you can print, but we've sent it successfully, which means that file transferring protocols are acceptable using the EasyNetwork application. Hello and welcome to another Unity tutorial. My name is Corey, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the EasyNetwork package. So let's go ahead and import the package. EasyNetwork, you can download it on the Unity store. I have to remind you that yes, this is an early version and it is prone to changes in the future, depending on how popular it may be. If there are requests for more demo scenes, such as a first-person or third-person shooter type networking example that you would like to see, I will definitely add that in. Okay, so here it is. Here's your folder. EasyNetwork comes with the demo scenes, some PDF documentation. You can click on these PDFs here. One of them is getting started, and when you open it, you can follow the instructions from A to Z, reading step by step, creating a project, and if there's ever something that you need in order to get yourself into a more advanced position, well, there is some advanced documentation down here too, sending a message advanced, and other important documentations you may have. If you would like to see the scripting documentation, you can go to this link, which I'll be putting into the description, and here you will have all of the sample codes that you can copy into your project. If you don't feel like starting totally from scratch, you can just copy these, and this will be the basics for getting started. Excellent. So let's create a new empty inside the scene, and we'll call it EasyNetwork test. And we're going to create a new script called EasyNetwork test. And once it's done compiling, we can apply the component to our EasyNetwork test, just like so, and double click on it to edit it. So here we are in Microsoft Visual Studio with our beautiful mono behavior that we're also familiar with. Before we begin, we need to add some using statements. So here we're going to type using EasyNetwork, and this will import the solution into our project. And we're also going to import two others. These are sort of important. They just make your life a little bit easier in the future. We're going to need to import the utilities, and we're going to import the constants. There is no wrapper class for these, so we definitely need to import these three in order to continue. So once you have that completed, we can get started. So what's nice about the EasyNetwork is that the EasyNetwork is one single object. So you don't need to create any instances. Everything is a static object. So if I wanted to connect to, let's say, a server, all I would need to type is EasyNetwork.connect, open brackets, and the default value should be just perfect. The only thing you would need to specify is the port number. So you could use whatever the specified port number is. In my case, I'll be using 100 because I know no applications are using 100 at the moment. If you'd like to specify the IP address, the second actual parameter would be the IP address itself. And the third one is the protocol. So if you would like to host a server on your application, you would type this statement, EasyNetwork protocol.server. If you wanted to connect to a server, well, you would type client. That's it. for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be using server because we do not have any application to connect to. We are going to host a server ourselves. Perfect. So now that we save this, you'll see that our constant has just been highlighted. It's been used because we've used it here. The constant is a value number. You can type this value of 0, which will work just the same, but there are constants included to allow you to type something without having to remember the numbers. That's what the constants are for. So, congratulations, you've just created a server that you can connect to. Now, we're going to need to subscribe to some messages. But before we do that, I don't want to scare you too much. I'm going to show you how to send a message. Sending a message is probably the most important part of using a network. And to do so, you type the following. EasyNetwork, our static class, .send, and the bytes itself to send. This can be any object that you like. You can use a string object or an integer. So let's say I wanted to send a string. Well, this is what I would write. I would write test, but we need it to be a byte array. So I've included something very neat inside the package. And if we use the dot operator, 2 bytes, now we've just converted our string to a byte array, and we can send that with ease. If we wanted to send an integer value, let's say 2017, I would use my utilities package, which contains an input-output class, dot object to byte array. I'm going by memory here because my IntelliSense is not showing up, but luckily for me, I've written it perfectly. Object to byte array, and there it is. And you could send anything that is serializable. This means you cannot send a vector 3. Vector 3 will not work. It is not serializable. Instead, you'll have to convert the vector 3 to an array of 3 values and serialize it using input, output, object to byte array, and put your array inside here. For the sake of this example, we'll be using a string, and we will put hello world inside the string. And of course, 2 bytes. Congratulations, you've successfully created a server and sent a message to the server. How do you receive this message? How do we deal with it? Now we're going to have to use some events. Writing events can be very simple or very difficult. You can either go on my EasyNetwork package website where you can download these lines here, which will set you up with your events immediately. Or you can do it manually, and I'll show you how to do that. So the EasyNetwork has a class called EasyNetwork Listener. Inside here, we have a bunch of events on connect, on disconnect, on attempt to connect, and so on and so forth. We'll be using the onMessageReceive event, and we will subscribe to it using a method name of our choice. We could use received message, and if we write this, we're going to need to create a method that can be subscribed to this event. So because message received doesn't exist, we can create it ourselves. So we can create it by doing the following. Private void message received and it will require an EasyNetwork message, MSG, and the connection ID. These are the two formal parameters you will need to specify when receiving a message. Excellent. It is always good practice to put your onMessageReceived inside the onEnabled and onDisabled methods that Unity uses. So let's go ahead and do that. Private void onEnable. Inside onEnable, we will subscribe to our onMessageReceived, like so. And yet again, it's always good practice to unsubscribe from a method by switching the plus operator to the negative operator. And instead of using onEnable, we will use onDisable. Excellent. Next, we would like to read the message that we're receiving. Once we send the hello world, it will be sent to the server, and depending on the default protocol, which is broadcast to all, easy protocols dot broadcast all, it will send the message to all the clients that are connected to this current server. Because we are a client inside of a server, we will be receiving this message. Thus, this method will be fired. And inside our net message, we will have our message inside it. So we can print it. Let's print our message and see if we've successfully received it. To retrieve the message, you will need to type the following. Net msg dot data, that is the data we are receiving, dot bytes to string. Let's review what we've just seen. First, we establish a connection, we host a server, and we send the message hello world to everybody. Broadcast all. Because we've subscribed to it on enable for message received, we've subscribed a custom method called receive message with two formal parameters, EasyNetwork message and an connection ID, which is the provided network connection of the message. We can then print the message. For the sake of testing, we will move the send hello world into our update method, and we will fire it once we have pressed a key. To do this, we will need to specify the key. If input key down, get key down, key code dot return, we will send the message. Let's save and go back to Unity for testing. Once your script has been compiled, press the play button, open up your console, and press return. As you can see, we've sent a message, hello world, and we've received it and printed it to the console. Congratulations, you've just sent a message to yourself. If you have somebody else who is connected to this server, you will receive a message from that client. If you would like to connect to the server, you will use the client protocol. Unfortunately, because you do not have a server running, it will fire a method called on failed to connect. On failed to connect. Because we are subscribing a new method to this event, we're going to need to subscribe it as well. Yet again, this is very good practice in order to continue. Next, we're going to need to create a method called onFailedToConnect. Private void onFailedToConnect. Just like this, print the message failed to connect. Next, we're going to test the onFailedConnect. Because we do not have a server running at the moment, we will need to fire this method. Let's go back to Unity and attempt to connect to it. This will fail. As you can see, we have failed to connect, and we can handle the exception. One final good practice to have by using the EasyNetwork is to make sure that you close the connection when the application is stopped. To do so, you can write the following: void on application quit EasyNetwork dot stop. This will in turn terminate the network and close all sockets, making sure that your port number will not be reserved within the background process. So now every time we stop the project, it will stop the network without you even having to worry about it. One really important part using networking is that because you're a server, you would like to send and receive messages constantly. You do not want to pause the game while you're serving clients. In this case, we're going to need to go to our player settings. So if you go to File, Build Settings, Player Settings, make sure that your platform is PC, Mac, and Linux standalone. Over to the right panel, you'll see under the arrow, Run in Background. Check this box, and everything will be okay. If you are a server and you do not run in background, you will receive a message. Let me turn off Run in Background to demonstrate this error message. As you can see, we have started the server, we have exited our application, we've returned, and we are receiving an error message. Application has been suspended. All multiplayer features will be reinitialized. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Press play and make sure to run in background. So now when we press play and we click outside of the application, when we return, we will not have any errors. How much data can you send on the EasyNetwork? Is there a maximum? Luckily for us, the EasyNetwork has managed to work with large files and large amount of data by splitting them up into packets. Unfortunately for us, there is a maximum of packets that we can send. The packet size is based on the buffer size. You can change the buffer size by adding a new parameter to the connect method and typing a new value, 2048. Now our buffer size is 2048. If your data packet exceeds 2048, it will split it up into segments that can then be sent over the server. and back to the client. By default, it is 1024, which works just fine. If you would like to test how much data you can send, you could type the following. We can generate our own string, test string, new string, with a character multiplied by, let's say, 50,000. Oh, 500,000. 5 gigabytes. Now when we put this string inside of our send method, we will print the size of our string, byte array data dot length, sending bytes of data, and on receive over here we will type received bytes of data. 5 gigs is a large amount. To send over a network. If we press play, press enter, you'll see that we've sent 5 gigabytes of data and received 5 gigabytes of data, and we've printed it out. Of course, there is a maximum of characters that you can print, but we've sent it successfully, which means that file transferring protocols are acceptable using the EasyNetwork application. Thank you for listening to this tutorial. My name is Corey. If you have any questions, please comment or send me an email. If you would like a more detailed version of this tutorial, you can access the Getting Started tutorial, which will be linked in the description below, and you could follow the step-by-step guide on how to get you started with the EasyNetwork. Here we have sending a message, opening and closing a connection, using protocols, stopping your connection, receiving a message, and so on and so forth.